Hi, I am the Apostle Brady Hess. Good day to the rest of you forever. This message is about the Tower of Babel, stairway to heaven. Nimrod was not involved in the building of the Tower of Babel. He is mentioned briefly in Genesis chapter 10, verses 8 through 9. This is a myth that began with a Hollywood presentation many years ago about the Tower of Babel. Leave it to Hollywood to get the facts wrong concerning Bible stories. I strongly encourage you to read the Bible for yourself if you want the truth. It contains many interesting stories that teach us about the nature of God. I'll read to you the story of the Tower of Babel straight out of the Bible in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. It occurred shortly after Noah's flood when mankind was repopulating the earth and building cities in various places. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. The evolutionists teach that mankind originated in Africa and that blacks are a link between apes and modern man and are genetically inferior. This is taught in public grade schools, high schools, and in colleges and universities. The blacks should be outraged at this and be rioting in the streets. My World Book Encyclopedia said that Persia and the fertile plains of Mesopotamia by the Euphrates River was the cradle of civilization. This is about 300 miles south of where Noah's Ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, a relatively short distance. In Genesis chapter 8, verses 10 through 17, Jacob has a dream where he saw angels going up and down from heaven on a ladder, and he saw the Lord speaking to him from heaven. In verse 17, he calls it the house of God. The city of God hovers a short distance above the earth, close enough that angels can reach the ground by a ladder. When the people were building a tower to heaven in Genesis 11, it was to reach the city of God. At that time and before that, the heavenly city was visible to the inhabitants of the earth. It was translucent. The sun, the moon, and the stars shone through it, and clouds and birds passed through it. In verse 6, God said that if they managed to reach heaven, they would be capable of anything. They would have access to hidden and forbidden technology with the aid of fallen angels who lived in heaven. God gave the different languages and scattered them over the face of all the earth. Verse 9, the city of God became invisible as God went into hiding. This was a big sin for these people. The obvious evidence of God's existence had always been available to mankind up to this point in time. In our present day, man builds tall towers everywhere, some as tall as possible. Many are likely taller than the Tower of Babel. God does not prevent this because they are not attempting to reach heaven. We are in a similar situation as the people who attempted to build the Tower of Babel in our day. We already have high technology and are headed for a one world language, a one world government, a one world economic system, and a one world religion. We are in the time of the end. Jesus returned to take his church out of the world, and the beginning of the 7-year tribulation before the final battle of Armageddon are imminent. Led Zeppelin is one of my favorite rock bands. They wrote a famous song titled Stairway to Heaven. I have heard that it is the most popular song ever written. I love this song. Some of the lyrics are, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. You can't buy a stairway to heaven. You can't build a stairway to heaven. The only way to get to heaven is by faith in the God-man, Jesus Christ. May God richly bless you, my beloved.